All right, guys, thank you for joining this week's episode of Girl, Is That Legal? Where we have our Hot Topics legal panel. So this legal panel is in each week, they're going to consist of at least three ladies or guys who are in the legal industry. They could be paralegals, they could be court reporters or attorneys. And they're going to give their take on some interesting legal issues, topics, and some celebrity gossip that's gone on this week. So this week, I'd like to introduce you to my panel. All right, this week we've got attorney Jamie Wright. Welcome, attorney. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Great.
Thank you so much.
And Jamie is an attorney based in California. She is with the J. Wright Law Group. And Jamie, I know that you practice employment as well as personal injury. Are there any other practice areas you got?
Occasionally breach a contract.
Okay, occasionally breach a contract. All right, and we're also going to add attorney Walisha.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome. So attorney Walisha, she has her camera off today because she's got a facial that she's dealing with. I definitely understand, girl, because I had one a few days ago when I was peeling like a reptile. So.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for being here. Yes. And Walisha specializes in, her practice areas are, it is trademarks and business related topics, non-litigation, right? So LLCs, corporations, all that stuff. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. And her firm is based in Florida, and it is the Plant Law Firm. Welcome, Walisha.
Thank you. The Brand Plant Law Firm.
The Brand Plant. Yep. Sorry about that. Brand as in trademark and branding.
Yep.
Oh, and your Instagram, isn't it like the trademark lady? What is it?
No. My Instagram is attorney Walisha, and then also Miss Lady Lavish. But
Lady Lavish, that's right. Okay, got it. And last but not least, welcoming back Nicole. Nicole is a paralegal based in Florida, and you largely support like business, civil litigation related matters, correct?
That is absolutely correct, Simone. Thank you.
And Nicole is a graduate of FAMU University as well. What did you study there? Was it business or did you do pre-law?
I did. I studied political science and I have an MBA.
Oh, that's right. So I also defer to her sometimes on business related topics. And Nicole is also a realtor.
Indeed.
Gotcha. All right. So usually we start off with the hot topics and we end with an anonymous viewer question. But actually, I think our anonymous viewer needs to get started now. So let me just confirm she's ready. And then if not, of course, we can move to her now. Let's see. Hi, anonymous. Are you ready?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So this is a segment that I like to call, Girl, Is That Legal? Now, I have to preface this by saying, this is not specific legal advice for everyone. What this is everyone, including tonight's viewer, you need to contact an attorney in your state to go over your specific matters. However, here we are amongst friends, and it is not illegal or unethical to just give your homegirls give your homegirls advice. And we are your homegirls on the internet, right, ladies?
Absolutely.
Right. Got it. So prior to the episode, I did a little debrief with Anonymous, and I'm going to lay out the gist of your issue, Anonymous, and then we're going to go into trying to give you a little help. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I shout out our sponsors for this episode. So for the sponsors, here we go. The sponsor for this episode is actually United Slay. It is a Black-owned cosmetic company. They've created the lipstick that I'm wearing. It's one of my favorite shades. It's really amazing. I've had this lipstick on since about noon today, and my lips are not chapped. It has stayed smooth and kissable. So I love them. The link for them is below, as well as 1-800-ACCOUNTANT. And we're going to talk later on about why it's really important to get your bookkeeping and get all your affairs in order so that you don't end up like Bishop Whitehead, the New York pastor, who may or may not be about to go to prison. Got it. All right. So, Anonymous. So the gist of Anonymous's issue is this. Anonymous is an employee at a company where basically they have been sued by multiple people for discrimination. And Anonymous has been involved in the litigation. Her issue has been persisting for about a year. However, she currently has an attorney, and that lawyer filed suit in around about August. And Anonymous's question is whether or not she can get a new employment lawyer, or whether it would be kind of too late or a bad idea at this point in her employment litigation to switch lawyers. Now, here's what's significant. There was a group of, I don't want to give too many details to give it away, but there was a group of other plaintiffs that this same lawyer represented, where in that group of plaintiffs, the lawyer was able to already get their cases settled and resolved. So a component of her concern is that she may not be prioritizing their case and or may not know exactly what she's doing, such that maybe she needs to switch over to another attorney. Anonymous, is that the gist?
Yes.
Okay. Any other significant major facts you want to add before we go to our panel?
Just the retainer.
That's right. Oh, this is very important. So I had asked her, I said, oh, okay. So I just assumed, I said, okay, so they're handling this on contingency, right? And she explained, no, she's already paid this person approximately $20,000 US. So with that being said, I'm going to start with Jamie. Each of you gets to ask her one question, give her a chance to answer, and then I'm going to kind of defer to Jamie, who is an employment attorney, to give her thoughts. Jamie, what's your question?
Thanks, Anonymous. Anonymous, let me just ask you this. Do you have any information on when the other group filed their lawsuit and when it settled?
I don't have personal when they filed. Some filed prior to me filing and some filed after. And all of those who file after of a certain I don't know what to say, a certain gender, I'll say like that.
Okay.
They are all back where they were. All settled.
Okay.
Okay. So to clarify, some of the people who filed their suit at the same time as you have already resolved them. Is that correct?
After, before and after. So
okay, got you.
Yes.
So you're kind of wondering, like, hey, why are some people getting their cases settled? Why are groups of people getting their cases settled before your particular group?
Correct.
Okay, got you. All right, well, Alicia? Alicia? Yeah, okay.
I'm going to defer. I'm not really familiar with this area of law. I don't have a specific question for this one.
All righty. And Nicole?
Hi, Anonymous. Were you ever approached by anyone
Ooh, good question.
in the group to join in with their suit, or why did you decide to choose the attorney that you did?
Great question. Yes, the other the other people in the group pretty much were on board with the attorney that they had chosen, and because my case was similar but different to their case, I was asked to join without knowledge of what type of attorney they were.
Got it. So just to clarify, basically, a group of your coworkers was filing suit. Someone already had this person as their lawyer. And so they came to you and were like, hey, do you want to join in the suit? If so, we're all using this guy. You can use them too. And you said, okay.
Yes, I joined. And then when I started noticing stuff, I kind of backed out and was just trying to do my own. And
Ugh.
then this happened right before the other part of the litigation went through, a couple of months ago in August. And it appears to be to my benefit that I stayed with the group.
Okay, gotcha. When you say to your benefit, then why do you want to pull out if it was benefiting you?
Well, the reason why I wanted to look at different areas is because, again, certain groups where their cases are being done very quickly. My part of this case is very small compared to others. However, because I vested so much finance, documentation, everything that's needed, wasn't seeing that the attorney was
Delivering.
looking out for my behalf.
Okay. What other practice areas does this lawyer do, or what are they known for? Most known for as far as practice?
Oh shoot, I don't have it on hand. It looks
Is it
like
employment?
no,
Oh,
because
girl. Well, that's probably.
after I talked to you, Simone, I looked it up, and it was everything but that.
Oh Lord. Okay. Gotcha. All right. So I'm gonna start out, and then I'm gonna let Jamie, I'm gonna let you bring it home as the employment lawyer. So the first thing is, here's the thing. Whenever someone says, "Hey, I think I want to fire my lawyer and switch, what should I consider?" The number one thing you got to know is, are you paying your lawyer via contingency, or are you paying them hourly? I was shocked to find out Anonymous has already paid her attorney $20,000 of her own money because she's paying them hourly. Here's the main thing I want any viewer to understand. In the legal industry, there are some types of lawyers that are always hourly, and there's others that, if they know what they're doing, they are always contingency. And as an example, criminal attorneys. You're never going to be able to get a criminal attorney contingency. Like, oh, yeah, well, I only have to pay you if you get me a not guilty. That's never going to happen because, one, it's actually against the law. Criminal attorneys have to either charge you a flat rate or a hourly rate. But then there are like personal injury attorneys, civil rights attorneys, and employment law on the plaintiff side, meaning representing the worker. Those who know what they're doing only take your cases on a contingency basis. And here is why. Let's think about the rationale. You're the victim. You are the employee who is probably suing because whatever the hell this raggedy company did has reduced your wages, reduced your income, put you in a financial hardship of some sort. And therefore, if the only way you could get an employment lawyer, right, is spending money that you don't have because you're suing them, no one would ever be able to sue a company for discrimination. That's why employment attorneys take cases on contingency fee, like across the board. They do that because if they believe in your case, they're willing to get a percentage of what they're going to recover for you. Contingency means I only get paid if I get money for you. Now let's think about it. If a employment attorney is taking your case on an hourly basis, what incentive does he have to settle it? Nothing. Because the more hours he bills, the more money he gets. Girl, this man is taking, or woman, whatever they are going to take their sweet time until forever because you are paying them as they take their sweet time. Versus with contingency, they have skin in the game, meaning this attorney don't want it to go on forever, right? Because they're fronting the cost of their staff. They're fronting the cost probably of depositions and hearings and all of that, such that they're going to work to get you the biggest possible offer in the least amount of time. Long story short, you keep playing around with this person, they going to waste your time and your money, even though you're saying that you use them because in part they were representing others who they have resolved. You also don't know whether they got the best offer for the people that have already settled. It might have just been his best offer because he don't do this area. He may not know how to evaluate all of that stuff. So Jamie, I'm going to turn it to you and let you kind of wrap it up, and also give Anonymous a chance to ask you any related question. What do you think?
Sure. So one of the things you have to also consider on contingency cases, because I do a lot of this, and I used to be on the defense side before I moved to the plaintiff side, is that in a place like California and most other places, when you're alleging discrimination, you can, if you go to trial, you get attorney's fees. So even if I'm taking a little bit longer on the plaintiff side, I'm keeping track of all my time. I'm not billing you. But if we go to trial and I'm successful and I get a large verdict, I get to make a motion for attorney's fees. One of the things that you have to consider if you come across a plaintiff's lawyer on the employment side, and if they want to charge you hourly, is exactly what Simone said. What is their incentive to hurry up and settle your case? There isn't one, because they get money from you. The other thing I would look at if I was you, Anonymous, is I would look really closely at my retainer agreement, because if you decide to dismiss this lawyer, or if you decide to terminate the relationship, have they in their retainer the right to assert a lien against any settlement funds that you may get in the future from another lawyer? I can tell you right now, in my retainer agreement, if I've invested a lot of time and you go to another lawyer, I have a right to assert a lien against any funds you may get in the future, because my time is valuable. The other thing that I would recommend, just in general to Anonymous or anyone, is when you're looking for an employment lawyer, to be very thoughtful about the person that you select. I always tell individuals, if you see someone who does 13 or 14 areas of law and employment was one of them, you might want to run, because that person really doesn't have the kind of nuanced specialty that it requires for employment litigation. So Anonymous, I take a look at that retainer agreement and see if you're going to end up owing if you go get another lawyer, and be very thoughtful about that.
Now, and let me clarify about that, though, the owing component. That usually only applies in contingency fee cases.
Correct.
So what Jamie, what you're describing, that's in your contract, because
Correct.
you only get paid if you recover for your clients, correct?
Correct. And when I was on the defense side, it was just hourly. And the only time I would come after you is if you didn't pay my outstanding bill, and then I just send it to collection.
Yeah. So that shouldn't be in her contract at all. It actually would be a violation of the ethical rules if it was in your contract, because when you pay hourly, you can fire that attorney at any moment. And guess what? They have to give you your complete file and all those records, and you can then move them to an attorney that will take your case that will take your case on contingency, meaning that $20,000 that you've already paid, you're not going to have to pay any more money. But finally, if you're thinking about firing your attorney basically and going with a new one, before that attorney can even get wind of it, you need to request an accounting and an in-depth analysis of your bills. How many bills have you received so far? I know you said you spent about $20K. How many bills have you received?
So every invoice, and I can count them, but every invoice and every dollar amount or money order that I have paid out, I have a receipt. I'm an accountant myself.
No, that's not the question. I'm not asking if you have a receipt. I'm asking how many itemized bills that have, in the itemized bill needs to have down to the 10th of an hour. So basically in like 6-minute intervals, what they worked on what day, and specifically what they did. How many itemized bills like that have you received?
I probably gonna say 10 or 20. It depends on, for example, if we've done a text message, or we've done a conversation, or we've done an email, it's $3.75 an hour.
Gotcha. All right. So you want to audit those basically before you get ready to go to another firm, because what happens is once you fire a lawyer, for some reason, they tend to just like inflate these bills real crazy. So you want to make sure you have a bill that explains why you paid this guy $20K so far. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So in conclusion, guys, the gist of the question that the viewer had this week was they wanted to know, like, what should they think about when they are firing an attorney? So when you're firing or hiring, what you want to focus on, one of the main things is always going to be am I paying them hourly or am I paying them on contingency? And whatever it is, it needs to be standard for the industry. Employment attorneys, if all plaintiffs' employment attorneys generally do contingency, which is the case here, you don't go to somebody that's doing hourly because they don't know what they're doing. It's going to cost you, and vice versa. So I hope this helps. Let us know, keep in touch, and let us know ultimately what you decide to do and how that goes. Also, as I promised, I'm going to put you in touch with some skilled employment attorneys who will be able to give you a free consultation and hopefully help you successfully resolve your matter.
Thank you so much, ladies. I truly appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a good evening. Awesome. All right, ladies. Okay, girls. Wasn't that crazy? I'm sorry, as attorneys, as people in the legal industry. What?
Insane.
Yeah, she's getting got. I mean,
she's getting all the way. Y'all, that would be like a car wreck lawyer saying, oh yeah, I'll represent you in your car wreck. You're injured. You haven't been able to work. You've been hit by this truck, but you're going to have to pay me hourly. What? Absolutely not. When the whole point of suing is because you're losing wages. So why should you be having to use your wages? Yeah, my mom got screwed this way when I was a child. I'm sure that influenced my decision to practice law, but she had an employment issue and she was paying hourly. And I remember thinking, I don't know about that. Excuse me. So yeah, held to the gnaw on that one. But I also want to be clear, when you're suing someone who doesn't have any form of insurance or is, for example, suing a landlord or this type of person like that, then that's when you pay hourly. When you want to sue somebody for defamation, that's generally when you will pay hourly, right? Because even when you win, there's not like an insurance policy that's going to pay you. Whereas with employment law, there's generally an insurance policy that covers corporations when they do employment related stuff. Isn't that generally the case, Jamie?
My defamation cases are actually on contingency because they're usually covered under the general liability policy. I have one right now that I can think of. The client is suing under California's Unruh Act because he claims that he was discriminated against based on his race, and the landlord was calling him effing Portuguese bees. And so we took that one on contingency, and it's being covered under general liability. Yeah.
Got it. Wait, how did you know that the landlord, but he's also suing a business, right? Here he's suing a landlord. He's not suing Kiki from social media.
Well, even if it was Kiki from social media, it depends. If it's an individual that I think has something, then yes. If I think there's an insurance policy. Now, Kiki, I did have a guy approach me about suing somebody for slander on YouTube, and I did quote him a retainer and an hourly rate. So yeah.
I got you. Okay. And also I recently learned, because I was in a related situation, that most in Texas, at least, most homeowners insurance policies and many renters insurance policies actually have defamation coverage as part of like the extension of the basic policy. So what that means is you can't sue someone under it, but if you are getting sued for defamation, you can basically make a claim just like you would on your homeowner's policy. And then your insurance company has to represent you for free for no additional money. They have to defend you in a defamation case. Ooh, check that out.
Because it's a form of personal injury.
I don't know.
It's a form of personal injury.
I remember I had to sue a business for
what they did, girl.
And I won. I don't know what strategy my attorney used, but it was a business because the manager said something egregious about me. Something.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to delve into that in another episode. Okay. Got it. All right. So now let's get into the fun stuff. Also, if you're watching live, feel free to drop in the comments. If there's a topic that we haven't covered yet, feel free to drop it and we may be able to answer it. Or address it. All right. So first I want to talk about Shanquella Robinson's update, y'all. So, have y'all all been following the case?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
So
sad.
it is. It's really sad. So earlier today, I had a chance to sit down and talk with the family's attorney. Basically, it's their legal advocate, attorney Shanquella Robinson. She's actually not related to them, but she clarified and helped to understand a number of things, including a great deal of fake news. So go to the channel. Make sure you're subscribed, guys, and hit the notifications. Make sure you watch that interview. But one of the interesting things that she confirmed was that there's only one video that's out there, one fight video. The only other video is a video of actually Shanquella like showing the Airbnb. But that while they were there, the friend called the mother to tell her mom, like, hey, she's sick. She has alcohol poisoning. We need money to be able to take her to the hospital, because they must not have received or gotten any, travel insurance, right? So in third world and second world countries like Mexico, you have to pay cash if you're going to go to the ER. So I was surprised to learn that I thought the mom didn't even find out about it until after they got back, but she was confirming, no, the mother found out while they were still there, but was told alcohol poisoning. And that the video that was released of the fight that was clearly taken by one of the friends, that friend never turned it over to the cops or the family. He just released it on social media, and social media was how it was discovered. So there's some more little updates and tidbits here and there. But she also talks about how many people have been arrested to date and what the timeline looks like for the remainder of the arrests. So that was really fun. That was interesting. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, and she also was able to talk about like what the family needs from us, which is to help them get justice, which is we just have to keep our foot on their necks. Like we cannot just allow their case to just go into oblivion, because we all know a lot of times people just assume like, oh, the government's got it, or oh, Mexico's got it. Like
Mexico does not have it.
I don't trust Mexico.
No.
No. All right, moving on. All right, who wants to lead this one? Brittney Griner is free. I'm gonna defer to you, Walisha. I'll let you start this one off.
So, as everyone knows, she's been released. And it was in exchange. I'm gonna pull it up here. Give me 1 second. Mm-hmm. It was in exchange for another prisoner.
Like a for real criminal.
Her wife is. Yeah, no, a real criminal. He had done some real stuff. I mean, he had like affiliations with different countries, and he was out for just all different types of egregious crimes. I know that everyone on the internet was just in an uproar in regards to the swap. They were saying that what type of swap is that? It's like not even fair because of the egregious crimes that he had committed. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to figure out which tab it's open in. Uh-oh.
It's okay. I'll help just kind of bring everybody in. Yeah. So basically the guy was like a terrible human being. He was an arms dealer. And as a result of basically that trading, so Russian arms trading, yes, Victor. And the Russian arms trading basically feeds the drug industry over here. So he's a terrible, horrible human being. So I hope in exchange, no Americans agree to go back to the WNBA, to the female version of the NBA in Russia ever again. I hope it collapses, and I hope everyone has a bad day over there. To the Russian government only. The only challenge is, y'all, do you know how much she was making over there? I see why she initially agreed. She was making $1 million a year. Even the highest paid person in the WNBA doesn't make that. So, I can understand why she initially agreed to go over there, especially as how crazy it is. But interestingly, her wife is in law school now. So I support her. If she ever watches the episode, girl, if you need any bar study prep
She
suggestions.
actually graduated from law school.
Oh, she's done?
Yes, she finished law school throughout all of this drama while Brittney was in Russia all these months. And
That's impressive.
that is very impressive. Like through all that stress, like kudos to her.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up, guys, is Oklahoma. Oklahoma decides to hire uneducated teachers. Anybody in particular want to lead this one? I know, Nicole, you read it.
I know.
Go ahead, Nicole. You can start. You're about as ignorant as me. I feel like you would understand.
You know, I hate the argument that one of the, I believe he was the representative who.
So first, let's let people know what's going on. So I'll set that up. No problem, Nicole. So Oklahoma pays teachers less, the least of all 50 states. I want to say their average teaching salary is around $33,000 a year. They have had no raises in forever in 11 days. So as a result, they're having difficulty hiring teachers. Many teachers are quitting. So instead of raising their salary, they have decided that they are going to relax the standards and that they are going to allow people without degrees at all to teach kids how to get into college. All right, Nicole, why? Help us.
Well, so I live in Florida and we're having a teacher shortage as well. And so what the law in Oklahoma now requires is that only a high school diploma is required for an educator, for anyone to be an educator in the state of Oklahoma. And, you know, I hate this argument that the state representative, his name is Kyle Hilbert. He said
this was his bright idea, Kyle's bright idea.
He said that I would push back anyone that says that just because someone doesn't have some letters like an MD or a JD or an MBA or an MS next to their name, that they're less intelligent than anyone else. I hate this argument because in order for you to be an educator, you have to have expertise in a specific field to teach someone, to teach a specific subject. Like, just because you have
something, you need to know something other than like the time of the day.
And okay, I graduate high school. Oh, I want to be a high school teacher. Absolutely not. I would be livid if I knew that my 10th grader was being taught by someone who only had a 12th grade education level and no life experience. And what are you teaching? Like,
well, also I think like
smarter than the teacher.
Well, I think also it should depend on like, maybe that's okay. I would be fine with that for kindergarten, maybe first, second, or third grade, like that level. But high school students, literally, a high school senior is usually around 17, 18 years old. And so the person that's been through college is usually around 22-ish. But basically, if you haven't gone, you literally could have a high schooler taught by another high schooler. That sounds like stupid leading the stupid.
I'm wondering, though, if, quite frankly, somebody has an equal protection claim that they could make, and if there's a lawsuit here regarding this law, because I could see it. Well, I mean, it depends, right? And I know that this is going to be all of Oklahoma, but if we look at the demographics of who's in these public schools, I wonder if it impacts a certain demographic more so than others, and that may raise equal protection.
Yeah, so to clarify, what equal protection is a law. It's basically the law that covers discrimination. Mm-hmm. So what Jamie is saying is that there potentially could be a discrimination issue. Yeah, because they don't really care about people, places, or things in Oklahoma. They'd like to keep you like dumb and pregnant over there. So that's completely possible.
And it's basically been discriminating against the local people.
Oh,
They said in the article that it had nothing to do with the scarcity of teachers. So they were saying that their decision wasn't made off of that solely. They said that they made a decision based on other factors, which wasn't mentioned in the article, but they did state that
they weren't mentioned.
See, there it is.
Of course they weren't mentioned. So the other factors are that they're cheap. The other factors are that they are cheap and they don't want to pay their teachers what they're worth.
And that's why there is a teacher shortage, because they are cheap.
At the end of the
Same
day,
thing in Florida.
a society that doesn't value education ends up with a community that reflects that.
Yeah.
And like how you said that about Florida, I think that is very like Florida, doesn't pay their teachers what they're worth. I think that is very reflective in what Charlamagne the God says on the radio, which is that the craziest people come from the Bronx and all of Florida. It is reflected because they don't value their teachers, so they have a bunch of crazy people running around. No offense to Walisha or Nicole, you guys are anomalies. Thank you for your existence.
We here by default.
If you weren't, I don't know what.
I'm not a product of public education either, so sorry for those.
Oh, thank you for the clarification.
We have a great standard of living down there, man. It's killing us in California. The taxes, I think it's like 10% where I live, and plus 8% for the county, plus the state. They tax everything.
Everything. I barely want to buy shoes there. Okay, you guys are nuts. That I don't like the racism in Texas, but I do like the tax rate. So that's what keeps me here. That's that.
Money race.
Mm-hmm. So next up is poor Wendy Williams. Have y'all been keeping up at all with the Wendy Williams Wells Fargo legal issues? Poor baby.
She's going through.
It's like every time you look, something has happened to Wendy Williams.
She's going through.
It's also
she has to pay that alimony. That's horrible.
Oof. Yes. So let me give y'all this little Wendy Williams update because I've been following it. I have some friends that are bloggers, and periodically, like, I'll go and I'll just clarify some things. I've pulled some of the court documents. And so most recently, earlier this week, I believe it was on Monday, Wendy Williams' son was evicted. A judge ordered his eviction from his $1 million Florida, Miami Beach area condo. Poor baby. He's only 22 years old. And at the same time, her ex-husband, Kevin, shoot the club up, Hunter, who the reason they divorced, her ex-husband, Kevin, shoot the club up, because that's the only reason they divorced, is because he chose to shoot up other people's clubs. She was okay when he was shooting up clubs, but there was no evidence. But then he got someone pregnant who decided to keep it. And then he decided he wanted to continue dating her. And that, in fact, was where Wendy drew the line. So her ex-husband has now filed documents because he says he has not been paid the alimony that he is due, the alimony since last October. Now, check this out. So I read the article and I was like, oh, that's so terrible. Why isn't the Wells Fargo, the guardian that was appointed in the Wells Fargo case, paying her basics, right? Because even when you get a guardian appointed, your basics should be paid. Y'all, here's the tea. First of all, the guardian was appointed because Wendy and her ex-husband always banked with Wells Fargo. And the truth is, it was very public that the two of them had divorced. Well, Kevin kept coming up in the bank trying to do stuff with Wendy's money. And so the banker was like, no, King, this doesn't seem right. And so she filed the requisite documents within the company to say, hey, I think that this person, Wendy, is under basically is not of sound mind and is being taken advantage of. And I don't feel comfortable releasing money to Kevin because I know how much she has spoken very publicly about how bad the marriage, the ending of the marriage was, and how much he hurt her. So I don't think she would be okay with me releasing $30K, $40K, $50K, whatever it is per month to him. Well, his stupid behind He just assumed since that was their banker while they were married, that the banker would like be cool, like, hey, Kevin. This is what happens when you are not the brains of the organization. You are the sexy brawn. You have stupid ass ideas like that. And so ultimately, the bank was like, no, we're not releasing. And they filed what they did file, saying, we think she needs a guardianship. Well, check this out. Here's how to not be like Wendy. This all comes down to one document could have prevented this and the millions of money that has been lost and suffered by her son, her ex-husband, and herself. That one document is a power of attorney.
Yeah.
She didn't have one on file. A POA. She did not have one on file. But what happened is after Wells Fargo said, hey, we don't think you're of sound mind to handle this, Wendy then went to the bank with a POA signed by her son. So here's what a lot of people don't understand about powers of attorney. If you present the power of attorney after an institution like a bank has deemed that you're already under the influence of undue influence, it's not valid. Once they've decided that, like, it looks like you don't have sound mind, if you present any document, they can't take that because for all they know, you signed it that day when you don't have sound mind. That's why, guys, when you're okay, when you're healthy, you got to get your affairs in order. And here's the thing, all banks, including Wells Fargo, they have their own power of attorney. Any day that you go in there to cash a check, say, yo, hand me a power of attorney. Step to the side, sign it, and they have somebody to notarize it for you for free. If she had done that, then none of this would be happening. But in the end, what's going on is her son is now getting evicted because, and her ex-husband, Kevin, is saying, well, it's because Wendy hasn't paid his rent. Once again, Kevin, you is a lie. Because the truth is, I pulled up the article. In the article, what Wendy's attorney is stating is that under the divorce decree, so Kevin is saying Wendy hasn't paid him since October of 21, and that therefore his house is going into foreclosure, the house he shares with his former mistress, who's now his baby mama, and that he hasn't been able to give his son money and etc. Well, the divorce decree specifically says if Wendy stops getting paid by the show, she gets to stop paying Kevin because it was effectively Kevin's salary. That's why he's not getting paid. It's not that the Wells Fargo guardian isn't doing their job. They are. It's that Kevin's don't know how to read. He looks like he can't read. He looks like he can't read.
You know something? In these cases, I'm with Kanye. We want prenup. We want prenup. He doesn't deserve $1 for his conduct. But you know what? Maybe the next time somebody like him will go find a chick who's like, cool, I'm with the polyamory. You know, we can stay married, go make your baby over here, have your baby mama, and come back to me when we go ahead and we need to make our public appearances. Because that's the thing. Like, what's happening with TJ Holmes and Amy Roback? I mean, you know, that kind of situation.
All of the above. All of the above. And also, like, part of what I think about is so Kevin Hunter, what's crazy is Kevin Hunter filed a lawsuit, stating he's going broke, blah, 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 blah. And I checked. It's not against Wendy. And he's been saying in the news, this ain't about Wendy. He sued the show. Now, if Kevin's behind you guys do contracts. If he came to your office talking about, hey, say, I want you to represent me. I want to sue Wendy Williams show because they ain't cut me a check since October 2021 when they suspended my baby from the air. What you gonna say?
I'm not the person for you. I don't see any merit here. I don't see any merit in this case, but you should contact the local bar, see if you can get a referral.
Get a job.
This would be a frivolous filing. I cannot help.
But his lawyer may have looked at it like, you know what, maybe just make this go away. They'll give us some kind of nominal settlement just to make it go away. Sometimes lawyers do that. I've seen it happen. I'm going to file this lawsuit. It'll be public, turn the media on them, and let's see if we can get a settlement just to make it go away.
That's true. There are those, because I always wonder when I hear these ridiculous lawsuits, I always think like, who the hell took your case and why? Was that lawyer hungry? You know, were there student loans in collections? Like exactly what was going on. So speaking of, let's end with there is someone who reneged on they are now reneging on their gender reassignment surgery. So a now male person, wait. Nicole, are they male or female? I get confused.
Well, it
Today.
was a female,
Yes.
and she was
Transitioning to male.
Who was
They.
transitioning
Yeah.
to male. And you know, it's a really sad story because
So lay it out there.
everybody in her family had convinced her, and her dad told her to stop wearing dresses and dress conservatively. Don't wear skirts. You're going to get raped. This is how girls get raped. And one of her friends got raped. That's why your friend got raped, because she was wearing a dress. She was wearing a shirt with a low cut, a V-neck. You need to don't do that. You're already gay. So, and yes.
Oh, wait a minute. So the family could tell that this person was likely gay, or they thought that this person was gay?
She knew. She had, you know, the feelings and the mental thoughts and everything. And so she went to 2 different centers, and she had already told everyone that she's homosexual. She feels, you know, that she should not be in a female's body, non-binary, and she needs to be a male. She needs to transition. And so she went to 2 different centers, and she went to the therapy. And the therapy, of course, they're in the business to make the money to do the gender reassignment. And so she did the hormone therapy as well. And she finally went through at the age of, I want to say 20. And no, she was 20. And 2020, she got a double mastectomy. And afterwards, almost immediately afterwards, she felt horrible.
Gotcha. So to sum it up, basically, a woman was gay. She was one of those masculine lesbians. She probably would have been a very handsome woman. She would have been a very handsome butch lady. But her family was so anti-gay that they tried to convince her to just be trans. Like it's a box you can check, on your SAT. And so they said, basically, this is crazy. They were encouraging of her to become trans, being a trans man, but were against her being a gay woman. So with the encouragement of her father and her family, she did the gender reassignment, only to realize she ain't no boy. And now regrets it. She is only 18 years old and is now suing the doctor who approved and performed the surgery. Who's taking that case? Jamie, you do med-mal.
Well, I'll tell you what, I actually represent a trans, a non-binary person, and
okay,
it's a they. What I will say about this is, if this person was 18 and they made this choice,
they're 18 now.
Yeah, they're 18
so
now.
It sounds like they made the choice a little bit before 18.
So the family encouraged this. I think the problem is going to be that the choice was made at the age of 18. I think what's going to have to happen is the law is going to have to evolve on this to really talk about the science of an 18-year-old brain, which is that the frontal lobe is not well developed, and that there's probably should have been a lot more therapy. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm thinking about some of the stuff I did at, quite frankly, 21, and I'm like, yeah. I don't even think about it sometimes. I'm like, ooh, girl. But I probably would not take this case unless I can be certain that in looking at the medical records, there's some kind of indication from the doctor that says this person isn't ready, but we're going to perform the surgery anyway. And, with the gender affirming surgeries, we're seeing a lot of that as a hot topic. So the law is just not catching up with the science. There's going to have to be a lot more science behind this. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and then in Florida, we've got Dwayne Wade and his wife, Gabby, who are supporting of their daughter and her desire. She's only 15 currently.
Right.
Her desire to have gender reassignment surgery versus her mother is saying, hold up, wait a minute. She should have to wait at least until she's 18, and I should have been more a part of the surgery. Alicia, this was your kid, and you were the mom who is not the primary parent. How would you feel?
If I was the mom that wasn't the primary parent, in this instance, I think that I would, I feel where she's coming from, because I think that the main thing about her thing is not exploiting the kid, and just putting it on Front Street for everybody and everything right now. So it's okay for you to identify that way, and it's okay for you to be that way, and we will love you as the same child. But to exploit him, her I'm not really sure exactly what to exploit her at such a young age. I think that as a mother, you always think of the best interest of your child and for, their future and whatnot. So I think that as her mom, I probably would agree. I mean, I wouldn't want my kid getting exploited that early. I think that I would be okay with her decision to be that way. I would love her all the same, but I wouldn't want the exploitation to be so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Nicole?
I agree. I believe that Zaya is she's a baby. She is
15,
a baby.
15.
Like, she can't even drive, and you're talking about turning him into a woman.
Her. Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forever.
Like, she's I wholeheartedly believe that the person is going to regret and probably resent if they do allow it to happen, Dwayne and Gabby later on, because one, she's not fully developed, and I am certain that she is probably taking some type of hormones right now as it is.
Right.
Because you can tell
she is.
Her features have completely changed. She does not look like a boy.
Because they say scientifically, if you start your hormones either before or during puberty, that in the end, the transition is much better. Like, you look a lot more like the gender that you choose to be reassigned to.
Those hormones are so dangerous.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, they give you mental health issues, among others. But, I mean, I would agree with you. I think my parenting philosophy and my parents' philosophy was, let your kids, give them room to make decisions, because that helps build confidence, but only within the realm of, you first have to determine what are reasonable choices for them to pick from, right? So, like, for my brother, my mom was like, he's very intelligent. He either needs to go to college or he has to go to the military. Well, really, my mom's decided he has to go to college, but she knew if the alternative she provided him was the military, he'd be like, hell no, and get himself to college. I feel the same way about parenting, which is, you want to give your children confidence through allowing them to exercise critical thinking and options. However, you have to get them to the point where no matter what option they pick, they will be safe. And I think with this type of choice, there's no rush. You already have him on the hormones. And that's the main part that gives the really believable, I don't know a better word, believable transition, right? But with the reassignment, you can't undo that. You can't unring that bell. So what's the harm in waiting till 18? Because the truth of the matter is, the main difference I see would be sex, right? And if you my kid and you living in my house, you should not be doing that's grown folk stuff. Why are you over here doing grown folk stuff?
Well, I think too, if we're affirming a child, which we should be, one of the things in doing that is saying that your body is beautiful. And that you should love your body. I mean, not that you can't feel that you were born in the wrong body. Maybe you do identify as female. I did watch very carefully as the Zaya, is it Zaya Wade?
Mm-hmm.
Zaya. Boyfriend's choice was actually a trans man, trans female.
Wonderful! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so it was a boy. It used to be a girl who's now a boy, and he's a boy who said, I think
They might be
there's
soulmates.
well, in that case though, look at who ultimately she was attracted to. And so there's something to be said about what might really be felt on the inside
Oh,
about
good point.
attraction, right? Because I think sometimes we construe and conflate
Yeah.
attraction to gender identity. And
Oh.
at Zaya's age, that really needs to be explored properly. The other thing is, Gab Union, that ain't her daughter. That's that lady's daughter. Why are you so pressed and got it all plastered all
You
over
know
you?
why Gabby's pressed. You
Sit
know
down.
why Gabby's pressed.
Sit down and stop using this as a publicity stunt. I
You know
swear.
why she's pressed.
Sit down. You got a daughter.
You know why.
Well, but
I know.
I think we do have to take into consideration the fact that Siobhan is the name of the mother of
Yeah,
Zaya's
sure.
mother, and Siobhan was for a while, for years. Siobhan was out here wilding. She was wilding so bad that she lost custody. To get your custody taken and
As a mother.
switch to a basketball player in the active season when your kids are like 7 and 8 or 7 and 9, you got to be here all the way wild. And ultimately, it was because she was preventing Dwayne from custody. Like Dwayne literally had to call the police on her Father's Day weekend
Yeah, it
because
was an unfortunate situation.
he sent his sister to go get the kids. It was his weekend, and for the umpteenth time, she had prevented it. Now, in conclusion, Jamie, I want to give you a chance. You had mentioned that you represent a trans person in a med mal.
No, in an employment case / disability
employment
case.
case.
Yeah.
So real quick, as we get ready to go, if you could just tell us a little bit about that generally. Obviously, we're not asking for names or any of that.
Yeah.
But what's the legal issue there?
So the non-binary person, a born female, now non-binary, works for a school district here in California. They refuse to identify the client by the proper pronoun, right? Because we're in a world of pronoun choice. Also, the non-binary person was attacked by a student, and they refused to pay out the workers' comp. And when they allowed her to, they had private meetings about her pronoun choice amongst the teachers, excluded them from the meetings. When they went out on workers' comp leave, the principal just refuses to bring them back despite repeated requests and has ignored them. And it's just like, you're gone, can't come back.
Is this a private school or public?
It is a public school in California.
Ooh, okay. So basically, California law protects trans people. Like what's the gist of the
protection? Yeah, so gender and gender expression has been brought into law in California. I was going to use a legal term, but it is protected as a protected class. But there's also just an overt gender discrimination and disability. This person was injured, a kid physically attacked them, and they went out on leave, and the school's like, yep, sorry, can't come back. And there's no reason. And this person is like the most sophisticatedly trained person who could put a kid who's having a meltdown or attacking another student in some kind of not a headlock, but whatever that's called. There's a phrase for it. Yeah. And this person has the training and is the only one in the school that has it. And they're like, nope, can't come back.
Wow. So I'm sorry to hear that. Well, ladies, I really appreciate you guys joining my discussion, especially on this school night. I know you got a lot going on, but thank you so much for joining. And if you'd like your question answered, or if you'd like to join even anonymously, please send an email to attorneysimone@gmail.com. And that's Simone with a Y. Thank you, ladies, for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Good night, y'all.
Good